Well, for more, I'm joined by Alan Sepinwall. Alan is a film and television critic at the digital news and culture platform Uproxx. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, what kind of a juggernaut have these films become for these comic universes?
It's really amazing. I grew up reading comic books about all of these characters, and, while there were occasionally movies made, they were never as mainstream or as dominant or making nearly as much money as they do now. My sister always made fun of me for this habit, and now she goes to see the movies before I do.
See, you got the last laugh then. Now, you know that we've seen these origin stories for Superman, Batman, and The Flash, and among others, appearing as scripted television shows now. So is television the future of comic book characters, or will movies still be the major breadwinners?
I think there's a little bit of both. I think with movies, you can certainly do a lot more spectacle. It would be really hard to do a lot of the things you've seen in the Avengers or Justice League on TV. When the networks try to do those, it's on a smaller scale. But on the other hand, the format of a TV show, a serialized one, is much closer to what actually happens in comics in terms of the story just continuing to go and go and go. And they were soap operas long before there were even soap operas on TV, basically, and now they've come back to that.
Now, of course, you can't talk about comics without talking about Comic-Con. So how much does Comic-Con work as an extension of these universes?
I went to Comic-Con a bunch of years. I've stopped going just because it's too many people for me. But when I went, it was basically TV Con. There were certainly comic book aspects to it, but the big things people were coming for was to see the premieres of their favorite shows or new shows, to get the cast of Game of Thrones or Arrow or The Flash in there, to show trailers. TV has even started to push movies out of the way at Comic-Con, so that's really what its main focus seems to be right now.
So when did Comic-Con go from being this place to really bond with fellow fans to this major business machine?
I couldn't pinpoint an exact date, but it happened over time. People realized, NBC brought Heroes there, and Heroes briefly turned into this huge thing. The ABC would bring Lost here, things like that, and the studios began to recognize, ooh, here's another tool in our marketing kit. We can go here and go directly to the fans and get them so excited that Robert Downey Jr. is in the room with them that they will do a lot of the marketing heavy lifting for us.
Now, in terms of the big two, you have Marvel and DC, which are the ones that get all the attention. Is there any chance of anything slowing down the success that they're seeing?
Well, we don't know exactly how successful they are. Obviously, the movies have done quite well for Marvel. The TV shows have been more of a mixed bag, and nobody knows who's watching the Netflix ones because Netflix doesn't release audience numbers. But, Marvel did a couple of shows for ABC that were disappointments. We'll have to see. I think it's going to be like any genre. There's going to have their hits and they're going to have their misses. Not every, space invasion movie works. Not every war movie works. Comic books are now going to be another genre, and right now they're a really successful one, but not always.
So how much do the comics themselves matter anymore, since you have all these major adaptations both on the big and small screens?
I think certainly the comic book companies are now looking to the comics mainly to generate intellectual property that they can then sell to movie studios or TV studios, but they're also then looking back to get people to come back and buy the comics. But it's more the farm system than anything else, even though I still enjoy reading a lot of them.
As do I. Thank you so much for your insights, Alan Sepinwall there, film and television critic with Uproxx.